Pursuit of Podcast, a purely guest-centric show focusing on people and organizations that advance positive change. Positivity can be anywhere, and in a time of vast discord, the pursuit of is finding those who champion its causes loudest. Join us as we sit and learn about the pursuits of local leaders in their community. Let's go.
Hello, good people, and welcome to the Pursuit of Podcast, where it's truly not us, it's you. My name is Ryan Buck, Artist Development with New Leonard Media. With me is the boss, our host, Mark Wilson, President.
Hello.
New Leonard Media. How are you?
Real well. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
I like that hat.
You like my hat?
Yeah.
Traverse City Film Fest.
Well, that's enough of that. All right. Our guest today is Percy Bird, founder of Binashe Cannabis Solutions. How are you?
I'm doing good, brother. Doing good.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you guys for having me on.
It's
Appreciate
nice
that.
to have somebody fun to talk to on a cold weeknight.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So, talk to me about your company. How did you get into it, and what's gotten you to this point?
Well, Binashe Cannabis Solutions started after I did a bit on tribal council for a time, during which time I tried to bring cannabis to the tribe a couple of different times. It was a little premature. You know, there's a lot of landmines that you have to watch out for.
Right. What time frame are we talking about?
This was about 3 years ago, possibly. Okay. Yeah, about 3 years ago now. It wasn't ready then. The market wasn't ready. So I get off council. I start Binashe Consulting, and while I was on council, I had made a lot of fabulous connections while educating myself about the cannabis industry. And because of Tribe's unique position with the ability to start businesses and whatnot, a lot of the contacts were approaching me and kind of explaining what could possibly be on tribal property. And one of those contacts that I had made was a man by the name of Dr. Elias Jackson. And Dr. Jackson is the co-founder of the VeraPharm Biopharmaceutical Corporation, and they're located at the Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah, really. So Elias and VeraPharm he has 2 patents approved now, specifically for cannabis testing and research. He has 3 more in review. So one of those contacts was this man who has these incredible testing connections. He starts explaining to me how the importance of cannabis testing, because at the time I was just looking at a dispensary. I was thinking small potatoes, and he was like, this can be so much more. There's so much more to the market and the industry than what a lot of the tribes and what everybody's rushing to fill the retail end.
Right.
And he said there's this whole gigantic ancillary market that nobody, either they're not ready or because they have gold rush signs in their eye, dollar signs in their eye, like the gold rush, or they don't.
Nice metaphor for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they don't have the technical or financial backing to enter this type of a thing. So, and this was, with the tribe's unique position, he was telling me that, if the tribe were enter into this position, into this testing lab, that we could then branch off into the cannabis business in a couple of different ways, which to me, and immediately it says backdoor to the cannabis industry. So you're profiting off the industry without actually being in it.
Right.
So,
Well, your mission is stated as assisting tribes with safe entry into the hemp and cannabis industry, which I think is profound. So can you give us a brief history, at least to this point, as to Native American participation in the hemp and cannabis space up to this point?
Absolutely. Well, so far, the only Native American participation in the cannabis, in the marijuana industry, has been the renegade Western tribes who have either they're not a PL 280 state and they don't have
what's that?
PL
280.
PL 280 is when a tribe, most tribes are of the federal government, so we have to abide by federal law. State law doesn't apply to us.
Right.
Okay, so but when you're PL 280, you either had a contentious relationship with the government and you give up that power to the state. So now the state and you are cohorts, and whatever you need, you go to the state or that type of
It
thing.
has its pros and cons.
If it goes to a lot of technical stuff, if I get like
Absolutely.
blank eyes, I'll probably ask because
Yeah.
So-
So they had permission to do it because the state went into it.
Right.
So the PL 280 tribes, they could go into it because they partnered with the state and the state approved it. So
and are there certain advantages to going that route?
the PL 280,
yeah.
Well, yeah, what he just broke down is that for this we have certain treaty rights where we're to co-manage certain resources with the state and the Fish and Wildlife Service, and we are very adamant about not having the state over us
Right.
on any of those things.
Right. Gotcha. So is it possible to get into the space in an unsafe manner, in an improper manner, and operate?
Yeah, in our opinion, in my opinion, yeah, a tribe can be kind of reckless. You don't want to give the impression to the government that you're thumbing your nose to them in any way, because at the federal level, it's still a Schedule 1, just like cocaine and heroin. And so bad things could happen if you were to.
Which is a whole nother topic.
Absolutely. If you want to have the cavalier attitude about it, I mean, bad things could happen. So, you want to enter it respectfully if you're going to go that route, but,
So a large part of what you do is assisting with establishing advanced analytical testing centers on tribal lands.
yes.
And is heavily regulated and monitored as the space is. How hard is it to actually get something going?
For an individual,
Yeah, to get a testing center going. Is it difficult?
It's a lot. It really is. Even if you were to get all the licensing, just securing all of the machinery that it takes, that's a $3 million
Whoa.
investment right there just to equip your space once you've bought in and now you have your license, that type of thing. So it's
What's the typical time frame from beginning to end to getting a testing center up and running?
Well, it depends on the resources behind the individual. If you're an individual and you have your own PhD and you graduated from MSU and you're just trying to start a lab yourself, it could be a couple years before.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
You could just kind of get into the game and get.
Well,
to a
you got
testing
it.
lab?
At some point you have to have a PhD running the show.
Okay.
He's the guy
That's true. That's the case. You need to have.
You cannot operate without one. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. There's because that's the level that it's at now. You
Sure.
know, where it's science has gotten a hold of it, and some of the tests that are conducted on it, have to be. Because of what they use it for, the medicine making and the large consumer use, that it has to be absolutely safe, which is why now recently the FDA has begun regulating marijuana because of the large food use. Absolutely.
Sure.
What's going on now.
So, in these testing centers, everything related, every product needs to be tested.
Absolutely. Every time the marijuana changes form from a bud. So when the grower grows it, he sells his bud. He tests his bud and it tests clean. He sells his bud on the market. Processor will purchase that bud, process it down into a concentrate. He again has to test it to prove that he didn't contaminate it because it was previously clean. He will sell various products on the market. One of those being cannabis butter. Now, a edibles kitchen will
Butter?
Butter.
Yeah, and then you cook with it.
Anything you
make
can
anything
Really?
edible.
Absolutely. Anything
What
you
if you
put
just
butter
put it
in.
on toast?
You could
course.
do that.
You can do that.
Yeah.
What if you just eat it straight up?
What if freeze it and make it into a popsicle?
What if you put it on your corn on the cob?
Hey,
So, welcome to Butter Talk.
Absolutely. Canna on the cob.
But anytime Whoa, you heard it here first, I think.
dude, he's got an alley business going right now.
Canna on the cob. The pursuit of first.
Absolutely.
We're here with Mr. Percy Bird, who is just throwing down new phrases. So anytime it changes form,
Yes.
it needs to be tested. Now,
Yes.
are the tests the same each time?
Yeah, in marijuana, it is. Yes. No. Actually, no. That's incorrect because it only has to be tested for potency the very first time when it's a flower, when it's the bud.
Right.
Then they determine the potency, and then they can
That's
sell
when
it.
it gives you the THC content.
Absolutely,
time.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, yes, and that will kind of determine the price of the bud, how much money, if they get
Sure.
premium price or not on the market.
So these testing centers, how large are they typically?
Well, they're really not that big. A one testing facility is only 2,000 square feet, so it's only about a little bit bigger than a house,
Okay.
a small size house.
Sure.
But it's the output of the lab is the important part of it. It's
Right.
what kind of machinery are you using, how good is your staff, that type of thing.
Yeah, and is there issues with like accuracy from lab to lab?
Oh, what's happening right now is in the testing lab industry, it's kind of the wild, wild west. The cannabis industry has grown so fast that what's happening is that you have falsifying reports for three different reasons. Okay, you have one of the reasons is bribery, where a grower will grow a bud and it'll test at 60%, but if it tests at 90%, he can sell it for more. So rather than accepting a 60% and selling it, he bribes the laboratory to change the numbers.
Ooh.
And that's a big thing happening. Now it's in every state, it's everywhere.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife is a RN, and she's had to actually deal with patients that have smoked cannabis that hasn't been properly tested. It was moldy, etc. And so
Right.
there's respiratory issues. So
don't
I mean,
have
like
that in your
the accuracy of this testing is actually very important. Now,
Very important.
maybe some of these under the table deals or whatever that we believe may be happening might just be marginal, so they get away with it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
But if it's
there's a
making
real
somebody sick,
there's a real danger of
and
it.
necessitating a hospital visit,
Absolutely,
that's
yes.
stress on the infrastructure.
Oh, definitely. You're inhaling mold spores. That type of.
No, I used to partake.
Yeah.
Back when we had what was called the brick,
Oh yeah.
and
Love the brick.
and
Love
that
the
whole thing makes me wonder, like, what were they?
What was on it?
What was on it? Sometimes I was like, man, they douse this thing in fabric softener to get it across the border or across the country, like.
And it had various smells when you got it, depending on what they brought it
Right.
across in.
Yeah.
So,
Weren't a lot of fancy names.
it
There was
didn't
no
always smell like
OGs
weed either.
after
No,
high
dude,
school.
it was just stems and seeds and whatever you can find in between. But like,
Absolutely. So we got three reasons for the inaccurate testing: is the bribery, the overwhelmed facilities. Some are mom and pop shops, and the industry has just grown so huge that they have tests stacked up and stacked up and stacked up that they just start. Okay, well, let's just write something down because we're starting to look bad. We can't test it fast enough. The third one is inaccurate machines. It's when you get a loan to start. If you're just a solo person without a much backing, you have to borrow this money. So you can only afford to buy entry level machines, which take longer to
Right.
test. Which you know what I mean? Inaccurate testing.
Yeah.
So it's an overwhelmed facility. So we have various reasons that you're getting inaccurate tests.
Right. Well, it's a business like any other.
Absolutely.
Maybe not like any other, but it's still a business.
Absolutely.
Safety is a prime concern. So
Absolutely.
when you're establishing these testing centers, is that an opportunity to create jobs for Native Americans on those lands?
Absolutely. Because what we've experienced here with the Grand Traverse Band is that we were sending tribal youth off to college and they were earning degrees, but there was no degree jobs for them to come back to here.
Right.
So we were educating employees for other companies.
That's
basically.
a tried story here.
Yeah. So we kind of get to create some high level jobs, positions for, because this will all eventually be staffed by, the various tribes that we partner with, with their tribal entities and stuff like that.
And that's the benefit. That's what you want.
Absolutely.
Can these testing centers, maybe this is a stretch, or can they offer training or education or certification on site, or is that not what they do?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of partnering with Binashe is because of my connection with Dr. Jackson at the Texas Medical Center at the University of Texas, we can offer whoever we partner with an educational opportunity to intern with various life sciences entities at the Texas Medical Center, cancer research, aging research, robotics repair, various high-level jobs that they can actually get hands-on. You know, they can go to Houston. We can arrange. We're affiliated with NASA. We can arrange this for
With
tribal
NASA?
youth. Yes, for tribal youth to get out and get their hands on actual real world and to see how big the real world is. Because a lot of tribal youth, they don't get far from the res.
Right.
And, you know, that's just because they're homebody. That's just what kind of people we are. You know, we stay around our own, but we'd like to at least provide an opportunity for them to go away for a short period of time and experience the world and, you know, see what kind of opportunities maybe they could bring home themselves, you know, back
That's
to the tribe.
extraordinary.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't think one would be linked to another,
Yes.
but it's really extraordinary.
Yes.
So I've read that the cannabis testing industry can be pretty lucrative.
Oh,
in the
very.
3 to 5 billion.
Very. Oh,
maybe annually.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you can share, wish to, how do they make money?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, there's, like I said, what they do is they call it a 15-panel test, and they're testing for mold and microbes and foreign matter and potency. So there's two different for the hemp. Everybody's focused on marijuana right now, but once the hemp gets up and running, hemp is going to be the chief
I feel
money maker.
nobody talks about hemp anymore. But,
Yes, it's
you know,
But
it was hugely used.
It's
in
growing. Yeah.
this
It's-
country
and there's-
early on. and-
absolutely.
And I just learned a fact today, and I had to double check it. But being a natural soil cleanser,
Yeah.
and it really struck a chord with me because, you know, there's some brownfields around here,
Yeah.
and there's property that's been acquired that's former junkyards,
Yep.
and it's a lot of money to have to clear the dirt in order to develop on it.
Yep.
But if you could run a
Cleanse the
crop for
soil.
5 years.
Absolutely.
And, you know, first, I'll make my point was Chernobyl. For 20 years, they've
Yeah.
been growing hemp there.
Yeah.
Detoxifying the
Interesting.
land.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will leach the radiation out of the soil.
It will leach radiation out of soil.
Any toxins
And
in
people
the
are
soil.
still wondering why how these products aren't helpful.
So what farmers are doing is they're catching on and they're rotating a few acres of hemp into their crops, moving it around each year. So they're refurbishing the soil for the next crop that is grown there, on top of making money of the hemp
So
crop
instead of
that
slash
they grew
and
there.
burn,
Yep.
you can plant hemp.
Yep.
But one of the things that gets scary, though, like say the Chernobyl situation, is if any of that is THC or whatever product that's going to be ingested and it gets sent around.
Yeah. No, they
And I'm
destroy those.
Yeah, I'm just
destroy
Anything
imagining
in Chernobyl, OG.
toxic.
It
Well,
would be
we know
that-
about bioaccumulation with like fish. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Saying like by the time a tuna eats all these other fish,
Yeah.
it's got so much mercury
So
in
much
it.
mercury in
and
it,
then
right.
then mom eats the tuna.
Is that what happened to Jeremy Piven? He
Baby
got mercury
breastfeeds.
poisoning.
What?
Jeremy Piven apparently got mercury poisoning from raw sushi.
Did he really?
I think that may be a wives' tale, but yeah.
Well, I'll look it up. But
The flash in the pan, but I
a lot
think
of
that-
times it gets highly concentrated in the breast milk, and that's like one of those things that's like, you know, the accumulation that's just scary. And so I think of the same thing. If like we got this like hemp product going around.
So you talked about the youth and opportunities, and you look at this industry, it's agricultural, it's scientific. Are one of the other aspects of that really appealing to younger kids, either the agricultural or the scientific?
You know, this is how I like to look at it. I like to think that it depends on where that youth grew up at. You know, if they grew up out in the country, they might be more apt to the agricultural aspect of it. You know,
Right.
but if you grew up in the city around factories, you may be more touched by the robotics and the industrial side of it, that type of thing.
Because it
So-
truly is science. It's medicine.
Absolutely. So there's so many different areas that it touches that you could almost jump on it and ride it to whatever avenue, you know, you interest you the most.
Yeah.
Podcasting.
I'm really drawn to the Binashe logo.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the kind of design ideologies and the process that led you to the logo?
Absolutely. I had to. I was for the first year, I was just making logos up myself, just free drawing them and whatever. And we started once Elias offered, the partnership. We well, I got to lock this down. So I hired a professional logo maker, and I told him, I said, well, Binashe is my last name. It's a bird in Anishinaabe. So I would like a bird, an eagle on there if I could. I said, we're a testing lab, so there has to be an element of technology with we test cannabis, so obviously you got to have the pot leaf on there somewhere. So that's
It's
all the
done
aspects.
really, really well, because I think a lot of similar companies can get real on the nose with the pot leaf or the green or using 420, and from afar, your logo could look like it could be any company that's here to help you.
Yes.
It's really inviting.
Yes.
The colors are great. Well done.
I really wanted to give the impression of intelligence, smart, because we're trying to take cannabis to the medicine level, and you want it to look clean and crisp and kind of not get away from the its old hippie roots. That's cool. That's where it started, but we're taking it to the next level, to the scientific level. So I wanted it to reflect that, no matter if it said Binashe up there or not, if they could just see that logo, because we all know that logos rule. You can look at 150 different logos and know what company that is just by the logo
without even saying it,
without any words next to it. So I wanted it to be in that category.
It'd be a pretty rad tattoo, actually, as I was looking at
now
it.
you think about it, it would be kind of cool.
He'd be honored, I'm sure, Ryan.
So, what are the negative stigma of the hemp and cannabis industry that seems to be less and less valid nowadays? In the last 20 years, I think there's been a change in this landscape.
Oh, yeah.
What are the stigma that really don't apply anymore, in your opinion?
Well, in the past, when I was younger, when you mentioned marijuana or pot, the first thing that came to mind was two hippies in a van smoking a doobie, down by the river. And now it's, I think it's almost intelligent now. It's like it's evolved to it. We're into the scientific. Even the scientists are just every day they find 3 new uses for hemp every day. It's like every day we go, we're creating something new. So I like, to say that we've gotten rid of the old, the old stoner stereotype, and now we're smart stoners now.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, there's been a lot of negative connotation to the corporatization of this industry.
Yes.
And one could say that without some of this backing, these advances wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to keep everything, at the grassroots level, but if it's going to be widely used, somebody's interpretation of safety may be a little looser than somebody else's.
Right.
We want to make sure that everybody's following that same line of safety. Is you make what you want, but safety is safety, and this is the line.
Well, that is the delicate balance of where trying to protect the caregiver acts.
Yes.
And making sure that the individual has the power to grow in their homes, and to take on patients and care for them. But there is the balance, like I said, we know of patients that have smoked moldy cannabis,
absolutely,
and got infections.
And this is where naysayers come from, where they have issue with the nomenclature, patients, medicine. But this is real. This is so for somebody who says to you, well, if you're in pain, just take ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And you're just using this as an excuse. What would be your answer to them?
Cannabis is a medicine. It's the only medicine at the moment, from what my partner and his biotechnology firm is telling me, that it doesn't step on the toes of any other medication that you take. So if you're taking a blood pressure medication and you take a antidepressant, that it doesn't either enhance or lessen the effects of either of those. So you're free to
So
be
that's a
comfortable.
misnomer that you could be dispelling, is that it could maybe enhance a medicine. The fact that it doesn't do anything to any, it's benign to any other medicine
Absolutely.
is really, I think, important.
That's so attractive to doctors because certain medicines can't be derived from cannabis at the moment. We're not that far yet. It still has to be old fashioned. So they're liking that they could still give them the old fashioned one, maybe stack a cannabis derived new one on top of it without interacting,
Right.
Having the patient have any negative
Maybe
side
if the
effects.
ibuprofen people were smart, they'd make ibuprofen make you feel a little good.
Ibuprofen isn't as good for you as you think.
No,
bad for your
because
stomach.
that's one of the things that I get worried about with joint pain and just from working out, and if I end up taking ibuprofen or headaches, etc., that eventually it's going to start attacking, my insides.
Yeah, your
And I-
liver.
and
it
I don't
attacks
want
your liver
that,
specifically.
But, there's other medicines that get abused,
Absolutely.
And this is also one that could be abused.
Absolutely.
I don't currently partake because I have a history of abuse.
Yes.
But I've always respected and aimed to protect somebody's right
Absolutely.
to use it medicinally or even recreationally because of the harm that we see with the opioid crisis.
Oh, man.
And
Devastation.
marijuana is known to be non-addictive by property, but if you
Yes.
have an addictive personality,
Yeah.
anything could be. I mean,
Yeah.
you could get addicted to sweet teas.
Yeah. McDonald's.
So,
Anything.
how are Native tribes in Michigan, specifically in general, doing in this world compared to others? I mean, because you look at the dispensaries down here. I don't know who they're owned by. I imagine there's conglomerates or what have you. I don't know if there's many mom and pops in this space. But how are, in your opinion, are the Native tribes doing in this space compared to others?
To other native tribes?
To other entities that are non-native?
Um,
Are the Native tribes as advanced as they should be, as prolific in the space
well,
as they should be?
I think if they would embrace it a little more, that they would find it's a much steadier economic revenue stream, than gaming based.
Well, so more of them need to talk to Binashe.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Without
Because,
question.
we like I said, Binashe does, we offer the business portion of it, but also my wife, Holly, she's a native lawyer and native judge, and she can offer to help your tribe write its wording specifically, because there are certain ways you have to word it, because I know that when the Grand Traverse Band first was talking about it, that we had to word it in the essence of, we recognize the state of Michigan passing a cannabis law. That way we're not saying that we passed it. We're saying that we recognize that you passed it. We're recognizing that, but we're not jeopardizing our sovereignty in any way. So
Right.
yes, we can help out in many ways
Right.
like that.
So is that one of the big hurdles, other than ideologically? It's the technical and all the clerical minutia that you have to go through for applying and writing, and
yes.
so that's where help can be appreciated.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because if you're navigating it on your own, you step into a landmine, that could cost you,
So you need legal help. Are there grants involved? Is grant writing involved, or not as much?
Well, tribes can write their own grants, and if they're educated on how to word their grant and word it loosely, they can apply it, broadly
Absolutely.
to their needs.
Wow. So if anyone wants more information on how Binashe can help them, more information in general, what's the best place to go?
Well, we don't have a website at the moment, but we do have a Facebook page. There's Binashe Cannabis Solutions. Look us up on Facebook. Anybody want to contact me personally, any questions or anything like that, Binashe Consulting at gmail.com.
Binashe Consulting at gmail.com.
Yeah.
And the Facebook page is great.
Yeah.
A lot of videos on not just your company, but the state of the industry.
Absolutely.
And what's happening. Are you, as of today, are you happy? Let's say in this area with the state of the cannabis and hemp industry where we're at now, or do we have much more work to do before we're in the best spot we can be?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's like we're in a good spot, but we're a couple years behind for where we should be. We should have been at this point a couple years ago, but that's all right. That's how these things work out. It never works out ideally, but I think that I'm happy with how Michigan's there could always be tweaks here and there, but overall, I think I'm happy with how it's rolling out and the response to it, and I we're here to help tribes embrace this new concept here when they're ready.
Well, Percy, I think what you're doing is amazing. You're helping tribes become more sustainable, creating jobs, creating revenue,
absolutely,
and helping people feel better and live without pain safely,
absolutely,
which is a big deal. So thank you so much for your pursuits. Thanks to all those who pursue along with you. And thanks, everybody, for listening and for pursuing the positive. Thank you, Percy, so much.
Thank you, guys.
This is awesome.
Thanks.
There we have it, folks. Another episode, The Pursuit of Podcast. As of the original release of this episode, it is Percy's birthday. I want to say Minnow Debashkan Nij. And also, give a shout out to Urban Meds, Traverse City, Michigan, HNMWellnessStore.com, and the Tin Lid Hat Company, tinlidco.com. Use promo code The Pursuit Of. Special discounts to our listeners. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys next week.